Hello, how are you? Happy Thursday, August 1. A different kind of Messiah is the review of the lesson of the quarterly for today. By the way, in Spanish, Agua del Pozo. Now, the Spanish is not together with the English anymore. Okay? Just follow in Agua del Pozo. There's a link at the bottom for the Spanish. I'm doing it in English now, only English for Del Pozo Ministries. Today is August 1, Thursday, is the month that I love, one of the months I love the most, because it is the birthday of my dad, August 8, his birthday. He's turning 86, and it's the birthday of my father-in-law, Benjamin Daguman Nepomuceno. He's turning 93, August 11. Happy birthday to him. But today, let's go directly to the Bible, okay? Mark 6:37. But he answered and said to them, you give them something to eat. You, not them, not the catering service, not the government. The government that needs a storage place, therefore he finds a church, and since the government is giving it to you, you're not supposed to pray or proselytize. Not the government, but you. Every church has to have 5 functions. The church of the New Testament had function number 1, koinonia. Function number 2, soteria. Function number 3, evangelia. Function number 4, didaskalia. And function number 5, diaconia, service. The first one is koinonia. Koinonia is fellowship. A church without fellowship is not a church. A church without a potluck is not a church. I'm sorry to break it to you. A church must have koinonia. It's a fundamental part of a church. If you don't believe me, read the book of Acts chapter 2. Tables. Deacons were created because of tables. Tables were created because of chairs. Chairs were created because of potluck. Hello? Oh, that's not my gift. It's not about a gift. You either potluck or you lose your Christianity. Let me tell you a story in my own words. Jesus sees the crowd. He gets out of the boat. He has compassion. He's been around the lake of Galilee. 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, like sheep without a shepherd. So Jesus begins teaching them many things. It's late in the afternoon. His disciples come to him and they say, this is a remote place. It's already getting late. Why don't you send the crowds away? They have to go home to the nearby farm and village. And they're supposed to buy something to eat. They are hungry. Send them away. But Jesus says to them, with what? We'd have to work for months to earn enough money to buy food for all these people. How are we going to get 20,000 meals? And Jesus says, how much bread do you have? Go and find out. The disciples come back and report, we have 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Then Jesus tells the disciples to have the people sit down in groups on the green grass. So they sit down in groups of 50. They sit down in groups of 100. And Jesus takes the 5 loaves and 2 fish. He looks upward to heaven and blesses them. Then, breaking the loaves into pieces, he kept giving the bread to the disciples so they could distribute it to the people. He also divides the fish for everyone to share. And they start eating as much as they wanted. And afterward, the disciples pick up 12 baskets of leftover bread and fish. A total of 5,000 men, without counting women and children. 5,000 men and their families are fed. And here's the point of the story. It's very simple. You go to Jesus every morning. You pray to Jesus every morning. You study the Bible with Jesus, listening to what he has to say every morning, the Bible. So he gives you the bread. This is the bread. So you take the bread, and it's hot bread. It just came out of the oven. It just came out of the stove. It's French bread, and you put a little bit of butter, and the butter is dripping. Look, it's dripping all over your arm because the bread is hot. So you give the delicious hot bread to the people, and they devour it. You're empty-handed. Go back to Jesus. Jesus gives you more bread, and you give it to the people. The following day, you go back to Jesus by prayer and Bible study. Jesus gives you the bread, and you give it to the people. However, one day you're selfish. And you say, what if Jesus runs out of bread? I'm going to keep this time to myself. You don't share it anymore. You don't evangelize anymore. You don't testify anymore. You keep it to yourself. What happens to that bread? What happens when you hold bread in a bag for a month? Yes, it turns blue. What if you keep it for a year? Yes, there's a mold. It turns green, like a hard baseball. Hard like a rock, like a fossil. And that's what happens to your Christian life when you don't witness to other people, when you don't go to church, when you don't testify, when you don't prepare a meal for the homeless, when you don't feed someone, when you are not generous with your talents, with special music. That is what happens. So you have no choice. You either evangelize or you're fossilized. Because the empty-handedness of giving something else makes you want to go back to Jesus. And when you go back to Jesus, you spend more time in prayer, you spend more time in reading the Bible, and you spend more time in communion, having intimacy with God. And He gives you the bread, and you give it to someone else. And when you give it to someone else, you are strong, you are alive, you are happy. Your family is receiving the joy and the blessings of heaven because you are evangelizing. You are supposed to give something to eat, not the government, not the friendship of the neighborhood, not the catering service that you pay McDonald's. No, it is you. Potluck is for you to prepare something for someone. There's a joy because God is so good. I'll see you tomorrow, and may the Lord give you a happy Friday.
I'm going